Okay, everybody. I want to say thank you again for joining Fluid's webinar series. We are super excited about today. We're going to be talking about how Facebook has sort of grown up and it's learning to sell. And we're going to talk about how that's being done with brands big and small through both organic and paid. First off, as usual, my name is Dustin Cederholm. I'm the Digital Marketing Director for Fluid. I'll be your host. I've been with Fluid for about 2 years now, and I lead up our digital team and some of our own social efforts, as well as blogging, conversion rate optimization, marketing automation, and a number of different things with that. But I am definitely not the star of today's show by any means. I can't tell you how excited we are to have Jana Francis in, founder and president of Stills.com. Jana, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Do you want to just give our audience a brief history where you come from and a little bit about Stills as well?
Sure. Well, if a lot of you are from Utah, which I suspect some are, from about 2001 to 2008, I was at KSL News Radio and KSL.com. And then in 2008, in 2007, I had this crazy idea about creating this niche website that focused on bringing busy moms like me an amazing product at a great price. This is long before Groupon and the other daily deal sites kind of came along the scene. And when I realized that the website didn't exist, I decided to create it. So I started with babysteals.com and have branched now, 8.5 years later into many other verticals. We have kids steals, scrapbook steals, and also a site for women called shesteals.com. So I still run the company as the president, and we are located just off I-215 at California Avenue here in Salt Lake City.
Fantastic, and thank you for sharing, Jen. I didn't actually realize it had been that long since you conceptualized all of this.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's a long time to bootstrap a business, I'll tell you that.
Sure. One thing that I don't know if Jana mentioned, maybe I didn't hear, but she was recently named by Inc. magazine as a top 25 Snapchat influencer. I know we're talking about Facebook, but I think that just extends to show Jana's prowess within the social media world.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Just a brief bit of housekeeping for everybody. As usual, you guys can follow along with us at our hashtag Fluid Webinar Series. You can follow on our Twitter handle right now at GetFluid. We'll be live tweeting throughout this webinar. You can also reach out to Jana at Jana_Steals, and we will be able to get responses to you either during or shortly after this event. Additionally, if you stick around for the Q&A, we will be switching over to Facebook Live for that. So we encourage you guys all to get up to Facebook Live, go to the Fluid site, and we will be doing that live, and you can watch me and Jana do this together. So just a couple of things for you all to know as we move along. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Interesting you saying how long ago before Groupon and everything else you kind of conceptualized it, and I was actually wanting to show some slides here to talk about how brief Facebook really has been around in our lives in the grand scheme of things, and how much it really controls our world in such a short amount of time. So quickly, just a brief look at the beginning. We all know Mark Zuckerberg. I just liked this photo because it really is this interconnected web, and he seemed to be one of the first people that really did that amongst friends and in such a simple platform. Facebook's beginning, I'm pointing these things out to you. I realize everybody knows what Facebook is. We're all very familiar, but I don't know how familiar we really are with the timeline of how they kind of got the platform going versus once they got the platform going, all the changes they've had even in the last year. And so just pointing this out, Facebook was conceptualized or started on February 4th, 2004. So I mean, that's only 12 years ago.
Well, no, it's totally ironic to think back. And at the time, you could only have an account on Facebook if you had a .edu email address, which is another thing that's so interesting. A lot of the followers of some of my accounts on Facebook, I notice you can tell when they launched their Facebook account. And I realize if it says 2004, then they joined while they were in college.
Yeah, wow. It's awesome. The iPhone app launched 2007, and I know we're all addicted to that. I'm sure, Jenna, you could even talk to some of your mobile stats with how people are using, or maybe I guess being referred from Facebook into your app.
Yeah, the as far as the referrals to my e-commerce site from Facebook, it is primarily through the mobile app, and I believe the last time I looked, it was about 73% of the traffic that comes from Facebook is from the mobile app.
So we've had that for 9+ years is all.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not yours, but even just the fact that Facebook has been able to be on a phone. Even longer for the iPad, that was only in 2011. But the one I really wanted to point out was the like button in 2010. I think we all know how important that has become and one of the more representative things of Facebook. 2012 is Facebook's IPO. This is when they've gone public. And they launched the Facebook Exchange, the ad exchange, which will actually be shutting down as well. 2012, they acquired Instagram, so just showing you how fast Instagram really has come along and how attractive Instagram was to Facebook and how much of a secondary resource it really has become. And they bought them for just $1 billion. 2014 is our 10-year anniversary, and then 2014 also was the year they did the anonymous login, which is where you can log into multiple different programs, different apps, things of that nature, all using the Facebook login. I think that's really huge for a lot of us who are going into single sign-in with the e-commerce platforms and a lot of different companies out there that we're talking to today. This is a huge problem, and so you can see how long ago or short ago that this came on board and has been a possibility for everybody. Jenna, I mean, how important is something like that to you?
Well, it's really important because we're able to allow our customers to log in to make a purchase on a Steals.com website with their Facebook account. And social login is really critical for B2C sites or businesses like mine, because you're already logged into Facebook. There's very few people that actually are not logged into Facebook at any given time, and that wins the majority of our login efforts, is the social login through Facebook, and it just makes it a seamless experience for the user.
Yeah, I mean, just think of the challenges many of us have to get somebody to fill out that form, and probably one of the most invasive one is that one where we actually have to build an actual login. And so we're pretty much committed to that point, and so Facebook gave us a way around that to tap right into our different apps and allow people to buy immediately. This other is January 20th, 2015, Facebook to show less hoaxes. And I know Facebook was making a lot of changes, and there's a lot of people with a lot of theories as to when everything was going down. But Jenna, I know that Facebook changing their algorithm has had an effect on a lot of companies as far as allowing your entire reach or your entire audience to be getting all of your posts versus when they decided to show specific posts, things of that nature. How has that affected you, and maybe when did you start to see a transition?
It has impacted us tremendously, and there's a few reasons why. One of the reasons why is that we were a very early adopter to Facebook, and I'm specifically in this case talking about one of my websites in the Steals.com family. I'll use babysteals.com as the example because it was the first website I launched in 2008, and it was one of the first brand pages on Facebook. So at one point, when Facebook started, you couldn't create a fan page at first for a business. And I think it was in late 2007 or early 2008 when that became a possibility. And we were a very early adopter to that. And because my website is time sensitive, meaning every day at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, there's a new deal of the day, it seemed natural to just post the new deal every day on Facebook. And we converted our customers to go over to Facebook to communicate about the daily deal. It was, highly encouraged, hey, go over here and talk about what you think, because it was free. If you think about it, it was like almost a free forum because, in 2008 and 9, the technology, especially for a bootstrap business like mine, around communication on an individual website was very expensive, and I wasn't technically capable at the time to create that. So And if you remember back, you used to see in every commercial, whether it's all the way from the Super Bowl, even to newspaper ads that said, it had the F button and said, like us on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because it was a place where a company could aggregate its community and have conversations. You don't see that anymore. And it's because, as many of you that are listening know, they have killed the organic reach. And when I say killed, I really mean that for the majority. And it really depends on the business, though. Facebook's algorithm is, it literally has over 380 different pieces to the algorithm. And it changes all the time. So to be able to figure that out is really difficult. But depending on the type of business that you are, will depend on what Facebook is currently supporting. So for example, if you are a publisher and you're creating content and you create that clickbait title that says, you won't believe what happens next, Facebook is really giving priority to content and media and publishers right now. They are absolutely killing the retail business and the small sort of, brick and mortar store as well. Because words like sale, % off, discount are highly, highly punished in the algorithm. And just to give you a dramatic example, so Babysteals.com has well over 317,000 fans. And way back in the day when I mentioned that we used to encourage people to go to Facebook to vote, if you will, and give their comment and review on the Daily Steal, we were getting literally 100% reach for a couple reasons. One, Facebook at the time, the newsfeed was in chronological order, which was, I think, at the end of the day, it's what users prefer. Because you can easily tell whether or not you've seen everything there is to see. You can refresh and just know, oh, okay, there's something new. And that really plays with our brains in a really interesting way that I won't get into. But so when Facebook was in chronological order, it was very powerful for my business. Then, so in 2012, late 2012, they killed the chronological order and they started to decide, well, this person interacts most with this person, and so that means they're going to see their posts more. That started to hurt us because sometimes our post for the Daily Deal didn't show up till the next day or the day after. But then what really started hurting us in early 2013 was when they started to take retailers such as myself and other businesses and really dial down that organic reach, and because they want you to pay to play. And it's very close to around when they went public. They really do want you to pay to play. Now, I'm not necessarily whining and complaining about that, because how many times have you gotten organic reach on a radio station or a newspaper or a television? It doesn't happen, right? So I'm thrilled that we were able to do what we were organically in that period of time. I was told by a Facebook representative at one point that my fan page, Babysteals.com, had more comments per second than almost any other fan page.
Wow.
And it was really incredible at the time. But, of course, now, at 317,000 fans, a post, if I don't boost it with paid promotion, might go to about 300 people.
Wow. It's incredible. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are seeing the same results. And so know that you're not alone. And Facebook definitely has gone to more of a pay-to-play. That's affecting B2B, B2C, pretty much everybody at this point. That said, I know Jana mentioned the publishers. So Facebook did launch the instant articles for publishers. Anybody can actually do this that creates their own feed. And if you have a WordPress site, it's quite easy to plug in and utilize this service. It's something that those of you who are in the content marketing, thought leadership areas might really consider looking into. And then just Facebook today. Facebook Live, so they released that to the general public. It had previously been available to some of the larger brands, but now is freely available to, again, the general public. They rolled it out to the entire world, and then slowly in increments, but for the most part it's available to all now. You can tell that we appreciate Facebook Live, as we're about to launch one in this Q&A. Jenna, how do you feel about Facebook Live?
It's one of the best inventions known to man. And what I mean by that is, to be honest with you, there are other live streaming platforms that, as far as the usability and the things you can do with it, are far superior to Facebook Live. For example, Periscope is far superior to Facebook Live for many reasons. However, what Facebook Live does is allows you to get some of that organic reach back.
Yep.
Because, with all these other platforms, you're having to build a community all over again. And people, even if you use Facebook to say, hey, go like me on Periscope, you're asking somebody to do a lot. Go download a new app, go learn a new app, and create new habits. But they're already on Facebook. So that's what I mean by it's the greatest invention ever, only because it is finally allowing me to have a much greater organic reach with my existing community, which has kind of been throttled. I've been blocked from speaking with them for a really long time. And now they've dialed back the or algorithm tremendously already. So what I can tell they're doing is get everybody hooked on it, get you going, and then they're going to want you to pay to promote those as well, into the future. But I absolutely love it. It's creating, I believe, and even Mark Zuckerberg said that very soon Facebook will be the majority of the content you see on Facebook will be all video. Very little text, and he also mentioned in his FA conference recently that a Facebook Live video versus a pre-recorded video that's posted gets 10 times the number of comments.
Wow, that's fantastic. Additionally, just how they feel about the native video. For those of you out there who are linking a YouTube video, it's really not the way that Facebook wants this done. They're wanting native videos built just for Facebook to compete with the YouTubes of the world. So they really are closing the doors and trying to get you to stay within Facebook and pay to play on Facebook. I think that was kind of mostly the 2015 movement. In 2016, I feel like they've at least provided us some new tools. If we are going to have to pay to play, then the newest releases with the Canva ads, the 360 video stuff, is at least giving us an interesting format to put these ads out on, whereas before the text ads were pretty much solely what we had, and they just weren't good. And so now you can do video, again, this Canva and the 360. There's a number of other options as well, and we'll get into those in a little bit, but that's kind of what I have felt is the whole thing about 2016, and one of the reasons that we really wanted to have this webinar today, because Facebook has come so far from 2015 to 2016 for the world of advertising and with organic, where that reach has really been lost. And so other things of note here were just Facebook reactions. That's the smiley faces. Not sure. Are you seeing a lot of that use? I know I personally don't use it a lot, but
I think it hasn't really impacted our business in any way or the interactions necessarily, but I think it gives the end user, a different feeling around just liking something, because now you can, without making a comment, you can still interact with someone by saying, that makes me sad, or that makes me angry, or I love that instead of like it. So I really think it's more for the end user.
Awesome. And then I pointed out the newsfeed release to account for how long people actually view and interact posts. More to what Jan is talking about, that algorithm continuing to change. Let's go quickly into just some of the pros and cons of Facebook, because there are definitely both. First off, some of the positives of Facebook. I mean, there are 1.23 billion monthly active users. I mean, 1 in 7 people around the world. Your audience is there. I find Facebook quite easy to use. I think most people can get up and running with it fairly quickly. I think that is indicative of the aging population that is beginning to jump onto Facebook, and so it's ease of use. The brand exposure and reputation management, obviously a positive, maybe diminishing. Refined target capabilities, they're continuing to work with that. LinkedIn may have one of the better ones of that, and we hope that they will copy it more and more, but Facebook definitely has some unique targeting based on all the data that they're collecting. I find it fairly cheap, and then you can reach customers on and off the platform using their pixel. What other pros, cons can you think of, Jan, off the top of your head?
Well, the targeting is just incredible. I don't know, and I can't think of anywhere else online that, or in any media whatsoever, that is superior to the targetability that Facebook has.
Right, so I would agree. And the beauty is it's B2B and B2C. So many times I hear at least that, B2B, they're not on there. we use custom audience targeting, meaning we just upload a list of emails. And our match, which on most things is usually about 40%, we have of late been seeing more like 65% match. I mean, it's finding these people. And so even though they're not on there for the same purpose, you can still find that touch point. And whether that's brand awareness or you want to pitch something fun about the company that might not be the same type of message you're using on LinkedIn, which might be a little bit more business, more salesy, you're still going to be able to reach them. And at this point, the whole point of the advertising game really is multiple touch points across multiple devices. And this just gives you that ability. And so my argument is it does work for B2B in the right situation. You just have to have a proper strategy for it versus going in full sales bore, which I often see people make a mistake doing. Some of the cons of Facebook. First off, there's the controlled exposure. We went through that. Probably the largest con. I mean, really a huge hit to everybody. The exposure for revenue. Basically, Facebook wants revenue. They are really making that quite clear. And, Mark Zuckerberg, they're even saying that's what they're doing. They're not necessarily hiding this fact. They're making some moves for their investors. And hopefully this is, the answer for them, whether it's good for us or not. I can't really decide. I'm saying no at the moment. The demographic exodus. We're definitely seeing a lot of the younger crowd go to Snapchat, females moving to Instagram. A number of different groups are actually moving off of the platform onto other ones. And Jared, we probably know all about that. Maybe you can speak to the demographic exodus a bit.
Absolutely. From our analytics, it definitely shows that Facebook does reach a bit of an older demographic, older in quotes, it's on the higher end of the 25 to 44 range. But what I think, it's also a personality trait. So, a lot of different psychographics of people get turned off by Facebook because the news feed is very, depending on who you spend your time with, friend-wise, it can be very political, right? And it's very, very opinionated, and it can be where somebody is, it can feel like a negative place on occasion. Whereas Instagram is your beautiful, pretty picture, and Snapchat is the fun and exciting things you did that day. And so I think that certain psychographics of people are leaving, or at least not spending as much time on Facebook because you don't necessarily care about what your neighbor thinks or who they're going to vote for, type thing.
Absolutely. A couple other things, just that there is banner blindness like any other platform. And then I brought brand exposure and reputation management up again as both a pro and a con. I think if you're just not managing it well, it can get out of hand quickly and it can become a sore spot for you. Or if you do it really well, it can be a bright spot for you. Maybe just a moment, Janet, tell us what you guys do with brand exposure and your experience with that.
Yeah, so at one point, like I mentioned earlier, we were told by Facebook that the babysteals.com fan page was one of the most active on Facebook. And part of the reason for that is we were there participating with them. We were encouraging the conversation. We were, it was literally almost a full-time job for me. And it was really hard to do while running the company. And I had at one point 4 employees that did nothing but communicate on Facebook. Wow. Now I have 0 because I that's an exaggeration. Our customer service department is now able to very easily manage it as the messages come in. Because again, they made the wall posts on the brand pages almost impossible to find through the app. And one of the reasons that they've done that is that the large brands had a really hard time with what I just mentioned. Let's just use Coca-Cola, and this is a bad example in that I don't know that this was happening to them, but I know that a lot of people started going to Facebook as the customer service place to complain. Right. It's like, I just had a bad experience with that company, so I'm going to go post it on Facebook and see who can answer me. Well, some businesses just weren't quite set up to manage that effectively, and depending how big the brand was, it really created some bad exposure for some of these brands, and it was really hard to manage their reputation accordingly because they weren't set up to do it. It happened too fast. So the large advertisers and the big brands were complaining tremendously to Facebook that I want to advertise with you, but why would I when I now have to hire X number of people to do nothing but respond on all these, bad comments. So for us, I loved it because as a new company, it created this transparency around the fact that we would answer it authentically and quickly, and it really boosted our brand and created a know, like, and trust factor that I don't know that I could have gotten anywhere else. But for the larger brands and some of the smaller ones that weren't as social media savvy, they had a really hard time with it.
I think you really touched on something there with, just the fact that for your brand, depending on your size, it really can be an authenticity and trust factor. Because the big brands, most people, we all know, would rather complain than say something positive, but the big brands already have that reputation. For those of us out there building a reputation, Facebook is a place people naturally go to look and see, do you have a proper Facebook? Are you responding? What are people saying? To vet this new brand where they don't know you very well. And so it's definitely a forum for them to kind of learn more about you. And so depending on your company size and your different marketing strategies, I think it can go either way for sure.
Yep.
That's a great transition. So let's get in kind of the meat of how to sell using Facebook. And so here we're going to just talk about the organic side of advertising first. And again, we have nobody better than Jenna, our expert here, to help you guys understand how to do it organically on Facebook. I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, so there's a few things right now, and this is probably going to change if you listen to this webinar later on, but there's a few things that are happening right now with the way that you post that really do help you with organic reach. One of them, unfortunately, is reposting publishers' content. So, for example, I'm a retailer. When we typically post, we post about what the daily deal is and or, fun things that are happening in the business, or we repost a lot of cool things, testimonials from customers and that kind of thing. But as I mentioned, the posts that have anything to do with quote unquote selling get really, really punished in the organic results. So right now, one of the ways, as you'll see on this slide, we're getting 1.1 million post reach. That isn't necessarily from our daily deal posts. That is from posting relevant articles or videos that we know our audience will be interested in. For example, the Cheerio stacking on babies right now is really a big deal. And so something like that would go, pretty, not viral, but give you a lot of organic reach. But it's not necessarily, advertising your business at all. But it definitely keeps your post reach up. For us, we post very, very consistently, but not too much. So we try to keep ours to no more than 3 a day. I see some companies posting once an hour, and that's a strategy taught by some people. I don't see that that's working well, and I'm actually hearing that you should get away from that. Building, and if anything else for us, in the past we've used Facebook as an alert tool because that's where the customers wanted to go be reminded that, there's a new daily deal and this is where I'm going to review it. But now since they're not seeing it to the same degree, it's really, where we, like I mentioned, we have built relationships with our customers on Facebook that we will have forever. We've told, stories on Facebook on how we have connected with our customers. We've gathered our customers together to actually support other women in our community that are having trouble in any way, and to donate or just random things like that. But we've really used it to just truly engage with our audience in a very, very unique way. Another thing on the slide, it mentions optimizing for best days and best time of day. If you go into your analytics and you go to insights and you go to post, or you go to I forget the actual, but you'll see it when you go to Insights. It will tell you exactly when the majority of your customers are logging into Facebook, and it actually has a grading scale for the time clock. And so that's when you're really going to want to make sure that your posts will be seen. And for me, that's a key to say, all right, that would be a good time to go on Facebook Live, right? Yeah. And, we have many different fan pages. We've got baby steals, kid steals, and they all have different numbers of fans based on, how old the page is and that kind of a thing. So because of that, they all have different times of the day that the majority of the fans are using Facebook. So we pay a lot of attention to that timing as well. And, like this says, don't talk all about you, but don't forget to talk about yourself. And you've got to have an even mix. And over time, I've talked to my social media team about really having a third, what I call it, a 30% or 33% strategy. 33% should be something that will interest them that has nothing to do with us or them. You know, like I mentioned, the viral video that is niched to that audience, or the the article that's really relevant that can drive conversation. And then another third is, here's what we have going on. This is what we're doing. And that depends on what your business is. For us, it's here's the daily deal, right? And then the other third is something that will encourage conversation with the audience, whether it's talking about them. You know, for example, we have a hashtag that our customers use called hashtag Steal Intel. And although hashtags don't work awesome on Facebook, we will take content from other mediums like Twitter and Instagram, repost on Facebook and say, oh, here's our favorite Steal Intel from this month, that kind of a thing. So we try to break it up into thirds, and that's been part of what our strategy is.
I think that's a fantastic strategy. And for all of those of you out there, I would just go audit my Facebook site, today, tomorrow, and see, what is your mix really look like. If you're talking all about yourself, you're probably not getting very high engagement. If you're only talking about other people, you're probably not really serving your brand well. And there's just so many different ways. You really do need to keep it interesting. And at the end of the day, I always look at it with my team. Would you hang out on this page? And that goes so much further than your product. You simply couldn't, your spouse or whoever you're with could not listen to you talk about you all day long every day. And so how do you build that relationship and keep it alive? And that's really what you're looking at when you're trying to keep a good dynamic Facebook page going. Before we leave this slide, I hope you didn't miss any of these bullets, or not miss them, but was there any bullets we didn't have that you think are critically important to the organic side of things?
No, I think you really got them. Like I mentioned, the algorithm is going to change no matter what. So like I said, as of now, what seems to be hitting off is reposting articles from or videos from publishers and content creators, but that might change next week.
Yeah.
So
follow along. We'll write blogs about their changes.
Yeah.
So more on the paid side, here's just a quick image showing you some of the different types of promotions that you can do. You can then see below as well the Go-To Ads Manager, which is really the ad section where you can launch some of the different ad formats that we're going to talk about here in a moment. We'll go over some of just the best practices real quickly though. First off, Jana mentioned just their ability to segment and target, probably the best social platform that there is holistically, in my opinion. I think LinkedIn's the B2B place for me, and that's really what we see, and we love their targeting for specific things. But LinkedIn's actually really time consuming and doesn't have the out of the box types of things that you will see with Facebook. And then Facebook, again, back to what I mentioned earlier, just that data that they are collecting so much information about you. They have really interesting, in-home or in-market segments that other people just don't have that option. And so if you're in the paid advertising, you need to be looking in the in-market segments to see, which ones fit with you. You can get so granular with it being, moms or certain household incomes, recent purchases, so many other things. I don't know, Janice, some things you might be segmenting based off of, or some of your favorites?
You can go all the way down to say, I want a mom in Los Angeles, California, that is most likely a soccer mom that likes to shop online, particularly for fashion, that is between 22 and 35 years old, that spends online. Yep. It is unreal.
And others are to go off of that, but just create more than one ad. My team here is tasked with always creating a minimum of 3 ads, but so many times we get into different people's ad managers and there's just the one ad, and the only problem, not that that's not great, it's you got the exposure and whatnot, but you really want to be able to A/B test, an EBC test for the different tone that you're using, the imagery that you're using, and see how they perform, and then be able to optimize, meaning turn them on and off according to which ones are best, and then add new ones until you really refine it and figure out what is my audience responding to, what can represent my tone, but also have a call to action at the same time. How do you do that balance? And that's really where the testing comes in. Use a good mix of all the ad formats. Again, even on Facebook, it's touch points. So if you get a text ad, that's one touch point. If you get a boosted post, that's another touch point. If you do a Facebook Live, knowing it's not paid, but it's just another touch point for people to engage. And so it's not always text ad, text ad, text ad. It's different things. People stay interested. The last is be creative. Going back to just the organic side of things where you can't really just talk about yourself, but how do you develop your product into something that's creative? And I keep harping about canvas ads and carousel ads and even the 360 pictures now. But there's just so many really neat ways to display your content now. I would get really creative and not look for just that square image ad that so many people still are using. Set up conversions to track success. This is one of the easiest things that you can do. It's incredibly simple in the world of dev and pixels. I have to thank Facebook for having a universal pixel. Mm-hmm. But if you guys aren't implementing this really is the thing that's going to inform your actual web form and your sales. Is your ad spend having a return? That's the most important thing in all of marketing.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm sure within e-commerce you have extensive e-commerce I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think of it. We'll move on. Excuse me. And then this last, monitor your ad reports to find the best demographic and day or time. Same thing you're doing organically. Make sure you're doing it on the paid side. And then here are just a few of, looks like we had some issue here. I don't know my clicking. I wanted to show you a carousel ad. The actual ad you're looking at. Hold on. Oh. I guess we're not actively live. We'll send this to you guys in the email. But what I wanted to show you are the different versions of it. We will send you guys links with images so that you can see it. The image that's most prominent that you can see there is a 360 picture. And it's kind of hard, you have to imagine what's going on, but you can also go to Fluid's Facebook page and see our recent 360 of our lobby. But you can actually touch the screen here and move, so you can see the left and right sides that are actually outside of this the display, and even up and down, and you could drag your finger left and right, up and down, and actually see a 360 view of what that person is experiencing. And so we've done it with our lobby. Other clients have done it with their they've had machining shops, or they've had a retail space, things of that nature, and you can get that personal. You can look and feel and touch it almost, and so when you get in there, you know what you're looking at, and it's just a really fun way to digitally experience a business. Also above it, you'll see the Now Live Q&A. We think that this is awesome. The organic reach, again, we'll continue to discuss that. The other are carousel ads, and it's too bad I can't show you this, but the carousel ads are really, really neat in the fact that you can really paint a fun picture. And I imagine with stills, you might be utilizing these or just see the value of them. Do you want to talk briefly to the carousel ads?
Yeah, the thing I love about the carousel ads as a user is, you can see the one picture, but then they show you half of the next one, so you know that if you click to the right, you can see more. And what I like as from an advertiser perspective is that you can actually, it A/B test it for you. So if you post 3 to 4 pictures, I think 4 is the limit, and then it ends with visit the website, but it will A/B test them, and it will automatically put the one that's performing best in the front. So that you can learn a lot about that from trying various carousel ads. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the last one is a Canva ad. We'll have to get you an example of this. Actually much more fun to experience than I could have shown you the picture anyway. But the Canva ad is a way for you almost to create an interactive website within Facebook. And so you can move up and down, side to side with it, and it basically tells a story as you go throughout it. You can add in videos into the middle of it. You can add downloads. It's really dynamic. It takes a little bit more coding than most of us probably have the skills to do, but those of us capable of it, it's probably one of the most fun ad formats that you can experience on Facebook. And then quickly, just because we know we have a mixed audience today, I wanted to go through, what does a B2B Facebook strategy really look like for me? Why am I on there in the B2B space? And so as I've kind of argued, I think Facebook is for everybody. Simple fact of how many people are on it. Your audience probably is there in some way or another. But so just briefly wanted to give you guys a quick outline. Facebook is a great link for you. We talked about the reputation management, but if you don't have really robust website, you don't have a ton of pages, and when somebody searches for you, your one web page comes up, and that's really all the real estate that you have on Google. Just having a Facebook will then pop in and give you at least 2 more lines, and so there's an SEO play to it. There's also SEO factors for small link juice. They really don't pass a lot through one to the other, but the fact that there's referral traffic and things of that nature gives it rank, and so it's a great SEO play. I would say post your corporate information limitedly. We don't want to talk all about ourselves again. And this is kind of to what Jana was saying, post other publisher stuff within your industry. That's the thing I think I see most missed with the B2B side, is it's always their own content, but they don't really share the industry content as often. If you want to go, Oracle has done a really nice job of their B2B. Even just looking at this picture, I think they have a really nice branded image up above. I love simplicity. But then below you see kind of the team members. And in the B2B space, I think team members are one of the things that really perform the most. They want to know that if they're going to have this B2B commitment with you, which is usually a lot more of a commitment than on the B2C side, that they know and trust you, that you guys have similar cultures, that you're a good fit for them. And so Facebook is a great place to put that as well. More on the paid side, use targeted ads to drive qualified leads, and then use Facebook retargeting to continue the conversation with visitors on your website and off your website. I mean, how awesome is it that they come off of your website and they go straight to Facebook, which so many of us do. And I'm sure you have plenty of sales guys. You're trying to work off Facebook right now. Hit the phones again. But you can actually reach them right when they switch over to the social side of things. And again, just be careful with what message you're delivering at that point. Is it still business oriented, or are you adopting the Facebook content strategy? Any thoughts on the B2B side?
Well, I just know from myself that as a business owner, I see a tremendous amount of businesses advertising to me on Facebook from business to business, because I think obviously they've targeted me in some way, shape, and form, right? Targeting business owners type thing, and it works. It really does. I was recently a speaker at the Internet Retailer Conference in Chicago, and somehow they figured that out, and I was getting a lot of ads in my newsfeed from other businesses that were at that expo that was saying, hey, visit us at booth 1551. And that is really a smart, I think, strategy.
Absolutely. Quickly just move to the B2C side. I'll let Jana kind of talk to this, but in my opinion, it's about becoming a lifestyle, not a representation of your brand or product. I see so many that are just, this is how it works, this is the how-to, this is that and the other. Show me how I would use it. What is my pain point? And so here I have a picture of the Starbucks site. They do a pretty good job. But, it's not inside of a Starbucks retail location. It's, living and how Starbucks actually is involved in your life. And Jen, I'm sure you have much more to say about that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now I'm hungry for lunch. That's a gorgeous photo.
The great photography doesn't hurt either.
Right.
But yeah, just, having your brand become you and a lifestyle and, something more than just the product or service itself. Be consistent again. This is something people really see if you haven't posted for a few months. They start to wonder where you went. What will your customer service be like? What are other parts of the business like? If you don't have this in order, what is that a representation of? So be consistent there. Create ways for customers to engage with you directly. Pros and cons, obviously, to that, but I think there's a lot of positives in that area. Again, targeted ads. We talked about how granular you can get to that. And then back to using Facebook retargeting, if you can get them on other platforms or pull them off of platforms into Facebook to just all the added benefits. Anything I missed on that side?
Yeah, so one thing I would bring up as well is Facebook Messenger. It has now become a very, very quick and easy way to speak with your customers. customers weren't always able to message you through Facebook Messenger through a brand page. I don't know the exact date that it came out, but they have invested a tremendous amount the last 6 months in building out their Messenger platform. It is a great way to interact with people on a one-to-one basis, because when you're posting on Facebook, it's obviously one-to-many, but when you're messaging them directly, and they have to message you first, I believe. I think there might be some new paid things that I haven't looked into personally yet, but I think you can also advertise inside Messenger. And if you're not sure what I mean, it's just where people private message one another within Facebook, and it now is its own app outside of Facebook on the phone. But what we are about to do at Steels.com is add that to our communication for transactions. So for example, when somebody makes a purchase on Steels.com and they logged into our website through Facebook, then they will get the confirmation in their Facebook Messenger.
Huh?
And what's powerful about that is if they have any questions, they don't have to wonder they don't have to go to the website to see what's their email address. How do I contact them? It's just a reply. Oh, hey, wait, I thought I ordered this, or whatever that it may be. Then they can also, it will come from Baby Steels or Steels.com or She Steels, and they can click to directly go to the fan page. So if they're not already liking you, it's really easy for them to go, oh, I'm going to like them. Then when the order ships, they get the tracking number, and you see where I'm going with that. So it's a really powerful way to engage with consumers where they're engaging with other people. They've now created a QR code, if you will, for it as well. So you could literally take the picture of, and you'll find it inside Facebook Messenger on your fan page. You can take that picture and embed it somewhere, wherever it makes sense, but on your website, and somebody can take a picture of that, and it will immediately bring up your Messenger on their app, or it will link directly to on the desktop to where they can message you. Think of it as like I think it's Facebook's answer to Snapchat, because Snapchat has become such a powerful messaging platform that I believe they're trying to turn Messenger into very, very, very Snapchat-like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have to keep an eye on that, especially how, it affects just all of us as far as the Messenger app evolves, but ultimately in the B2C world as well. And I obviously see B2B implications for that, where nothing, right now LinkedIn direct messages is the most opened message that you can send. And so how could you do that with Facebook, and how might that compete in that space as well? So quickly, before we leave you, we wanted to also give you a few of the tools that we utilize to do this. We've talked about, companies having to hire more people. In some cases, they've downscaled. But what are some of the tools that are helping them downscale or just stay on top of all the different ongoing interactions that are occurring across social media platforms? And so briefly, we've included a list here. There are social listening tools. Nuvi is a local Utah company and one of the leaders in this space. Highly encourage you to check them out. But they can help you with your promotions. If you're ever doing contests, things like that, they're extremely helpful. They're also really helpful for just listening across all of your sites, different channels, and being able to respond through their platform even. Marketing automation, Acton is another company that we use very actively, but pretty much every marketing automation platform has a social publish option. And what is so nice about that is it just helps you really schedule everything. But on the flip side, it's allowing that marketing automation beacon to launch across different media, meaning if they click on a blog post, you actually are able to pull in some more of that third-party data and start to build better profiles of the people visiting your sites. And then when you get into website personalization, things of that nature, automation can help deliver that as well. And then influencer management. We know influencers are definitely becoming more and more popular as we try to reach out to them, utilize them, and take advantage of the audience they've already built. We have an influencer here. What experience have you had from being reached out to, and then even on the other side, have you used an influencer management tool or reached out to them for your own brand as well?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily, I haven't yet utilized an influencer management tool per se.
Sure.
For my business is primarily reaching out to people that have a lot of Instagram followers in the niche that we're focused on. But I think there's, my biggest caution with influencer management is the reality is, and this is no offense to any influencer, but they usually don't know a whole lot about metrics. And as an advertiser, you have to be very, very careful because followers at the end of the day really don't matter. All that really matters is engagement and niche. You can get more results out of somebody that has 1,000 Instagram followers that really focuses in on the core of what it is you do than somebody who has 100,000 followers, because it's really easy to buy followers, by the way. And so it really, I'm a little bit skewed on influencer management because I think that a lot of brands pay a fortune for this, but really don't get a lot out of it that they expected. And some of it I think is just for show. Like, oh, hey, we have this guy talking about us. Well, cool, but how did it work for you? So you've got to have a way to really track it. And perhaps that's what Snapfluence and Enthusia do. I haven't personally used any of those, but I'm definitely going to check them out.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily what they do. Really what they do is help you find those influencers. And I'd actually have to agree with Jana. We often do most of ours manually. And so we happen to be on the tools page, so it seems appropriate. But we do a lot of this manually, and we go in and we, search for different hashtags and basically let ourselves go down the rabbit hole until we find the people that we really think are the most influential, as well as the ones that are in line with our marketing and our ethics and a number of other things, which just the raw tools, when they show you the numbers, may not be represented. So there's actually a lot of research in this area, but for those of you looking for maybe a tool, you might try Snapfluence or Enthusia as well. Basically, in summary, Facebook has certainly come a long way since inception, and we expect it to continue to evolve, probably a lot more even in this year. It's really funny, and it's one of the things that I'm proud of my team for, but I also try to set expectations of others about Facebook is, so many of us have learned to trade. Unfortunately, our trade as, social media management company changed last week. And we have to figure out how do we adapt to that. And we try to put out how-to videos and all kinds of things. And if you notice, even online, you'll go to Facebook pages and they'll be wrong. And they're just outdated. It's so hard for even Google or Facebook to keep up with their constant changes. And so those evolutions can cause problems. But in a lot of the different ad sets that we've seen this time, it's also been very positive for us. Again, your audience is probably on Facebook. Social media means be social. Don't be a salesperson. Be a relationship person. A great organic Facebook strategy can be more profitable than a paid. I think Jan has probably proven that over and over. And we definitely believe in that as well. Targeting capabilities are definitely there, and then think outside of the box. So many people are on there. It's all just more noise. If you can create a fun brand that people want to hang out with, that's really where you're going to get the win. Here are just 10 best practices for Facebook. We will be sending this out as an image. We're not going to go over them now, but you guys can follow. These will be on our website. We'll have a blog with the entire recording of this webinar as well for you all to watch in your free time, and we will also be sending that in a recap email. For those out there at Periscope, I'm here with Jana Francis from Stills.com. We are discussing the merits of Facebook, and we're doing that through Periscope at the moment. Ironic.
I'm going to share it on my Periscope as well really quick. You keep going.
Yeah, well, we're going to get her Periscope up as well. And so we've just come to the end of the Fluid Webinar Series event for Facebook Grows Up, Learns to Sell, and we're just going to do a quick Q&A. So, Jen, our first question is, should I hire an outside agency to run my Facebook page? I think that's a great question for both of us. Maybe we'll get your perspective first.
I think it depends. I would most likely hire an outside agency to run my paid Facebook ad campaign. I think that sometimes, depending on the size of your business, it can feel a little disingenuous if it's not you or someone from your company responding. I think that you're a lot more in tune with what's happening in your business on a day-to-day basis, and the majority of the questions that come up are, you know, pretty relevant to what's happening right now usually. So I personally am not a fan of having an agency run the page for the content. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, not for the content, but for the comments, but for the content, absolutely. I think that you can strategize with an agency. If you're not an expert at it, then you can utilize an agency to really help you with what to post and when, and walk you through the insights and that kind of a thing. I think it makes a lot of sense in some cases. It just really depends on your business. I would definitely have an agency run my ads for sure.
Well, as an agency, I appreciate the endorsement. I'm going to second what you said, though, to be honest. I do not think that agencies are capable of running the organic side of social for companies because it is so real time. Your response time is absolutely critical. They could definitely do it if you want to put the budget behind it and have somebody actively monitoring it and vis-a-vis becoming your social media manager. But I just think it's too difficult to run that day-to-day types of things. I think on the ad side, an agency is a fantastic partner. They also have you know, deals, and they get codes, and they have some added benefits to kind of help with the budget that must go into it, as well as maybe some of that previous experience they have, so that they can bring that in on, you know, similar clients and different things of that nature. But as a day-to-day type of a thing, I'm a little bit weary of that. We absolutely love when a client will come in and collaborate with us, let us strategize with them, because even when they do give us the paid side, the organic side supports it so well that you really need a collaborative effort. And so, in my opinion, the answer to the question, should you hire an outside agency, I think there's absolutely good reasons for that. If your social media is just not going very well, if it's not very consistent, agencies can pick up that and do more generic stuff. If you want to get really, really personal and build that lifestyle, you're going to have to be involved, and you're going to need somebody who really monitors it, in my opinion. So I guess yes and no.
Yeah.
Just a quick next question. How can I keep up with all the changes on Facebook? It's almost unfair.
It is.
Jenna, how do you do it?
Well, they have a great business blog. So they're usually posting the major changes. Now, a lot of the little mini algorithmic changes around what they're actually promoting at the time is in relation to the newsfeed and what they're giving more priority to in the algorithm. They may not promote, but they do. They have a great business blog that gives you the scoop.
Yep.
For the most part.
Great business blog, great developers blog, as well as just other agencies. You can follow along. I know that my team is always actively staying on the know, and that's kind of one of the fun things that you can do is follow agencies that are keeping their finger on the button of social, meaning that they will actually tell you if it's good or bad. You know, sometimes the blog, Facebook is obviously biased and or just factual business information as to what has happened, whereas the agencies might dive into it and say, here's what we tried, here's the type of way that it worked, and things of that nature. So there are agencies, but there's also just social media blogs out there that are all really good, and I would just follow along with them as much as possible. You can even get some different alerts set up for it, but that's a little bit more advanced and probably easier if you just follow the blog itself.
Yep.
Number 3, do I even need a website? Can I run my e-commerce only on Facebook? I think that's all you got.
Wow, I have seen some companies do that, but it reaches a point of, you know, you really, I think it depends on how big you want to be. You could probably run a small shop on Facebook, but essentially if you want to grow, you really need to reach out to, you know, have a true e-commerce website. But there are some that have created entire businesses starting on Facebook with selling product.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know that I would hang my hat on that based on how many changes always happen and what they're, you know, promoting at the time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. I mean, it's not your audience once you give it to Facebook.
Yeah.
And you want to create your own audience, and that should be going somewhere that you're not contingent on them going up or down or making some rule that as a business you don't agree with.
Yep.
So I would always build my own audience.
Yep.
For no one sees any of my posts, do I have to boost everything? I think we sort of covered this in the conversation, but Jana, do you want to briefly run over that again?
I think it depends on what you're posting, but if it is something where you're trying to sell or provide in any way, and you're not getting any reaction, then you need to boost the post. Now, my one bit of feedback would be never use the lazy man's button, meaning the button below the post that says boost post. Resist all temptations to hit that button, because you really want to be more strategic about who you're targeting with that message than just the random boost that they select.
Couldn't agree more. And our last question, how do I integrate Facebook with my full online marketing efforts? Again, something I think we've kind of been going over, but in summary, Johnny, do you want to talk about how you've done it? How to integrate Facebook with your full online marketing, your full digital footprint?
Well, they're making it easier than ever before. You can now embed Facebook Live videos onto your own website. You can now communicate with customers around transactions through Facebook Messenger. And, you know, my company is almost finished with, hopefully soon we'll be able to do that, and it's relatively easy. Absolutely put the pixel on your website so that when you do paid efforts, so you're really getting the true view of what it is, what results there are. For my business, paid marketing has been really tough on Facebook because for me, our products that we're promoting change every single day. And so that is one reason why it's been very difficult for us. And we never know how many we're going to have on a daily basis. So it's really hard to plan and strategize. But we have done, you know, we've done probably, you know, in the first quarter of this year, we did almost $300 a day on Facebook ads. And at the end of it all, we're about break even.
Yeah. So
I've just discovered that for my business, it's, you know, it's better for me to probably try to seek new customers through Facebook than trying to promote the daily deal.
And just quickly kind of segueing off of that, how do you calculate customer lifetime value into something like that, where you might be getting them for about break even, but are they going to return, and is it worth it to you at that point?
It would absolutely be worth it from the customer lifetime value perspective. But for me, being a bootstrap business, and I have about a 30 to 45 day runway with my cash, I need that person to check out in that particular you know, session in order to make it worth the time for us on the short term. Now, if I had you know, an investor and I had more of a runway on how I could get that lifetime value, then no problem. And B2B typically has a much higher return on one conversion than we would.
Right.
So for B2B, it's, I think, really powerful.
I agree. I think saying don't be scared of the numbers all the time. Look at the bigger picture. Is it achieving what you want? And that can be branding. That can be sales. That could be just general reputation and authenticity. There's so many things that you could be doing that aren't always going to hit your bottom line. So make sure that you have a really great strategy and that you're comfortable with that strategy as the reports start to return to you, that you remember what you were really trying to do.
Yep, yep.
Awesome. Well, I have to say thank you so much. Jana France, you have been incredible.
Thank you.
Stills.com is an incredible brand. You know, you guys go to Stills.com, baby stills, kid stills, she stills, amazing daily deal sites, the original daily deal site, one of them for sure. And Jen and the Stills.com guys are going to take care of you. As we move forward, if you guys do have anything else that you want to comment, you can on Twitter at the Fluid Webinar Series. You can reach either of us at GetFluid, at Jana_Steels, and we will see you guys next month for Fluid's webinar. And as we launch that, you guys will continue to get emails, but follow our blog for more information and the recap of this event as well. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you very soon.
All right, thank you.